Hey everyone, I'm Razu, and for the past 30 years, I've been diving into the world of horror literature. Today, I'll be sharing insights from my 3 decades of horror reading. We'll explore how horror has evolved, highlight some key authors, and discuss different subgenres and their impact in an attempt to help you find the best horror stories for your taste. So grab some coffee and let's talk about that. I've been a passionate reader and horror enthusiast for 30 years, having devoured countless horror novels from classic gothic tales to modern psychological thrillers. I've read works from the most influential authors in the genre and watched horror literature evolve over the decades. Trust me, I've seen it all, what works, what doesn't, and everything in between. Let's start by looking at how horror literature has evolved over the years. In the early days, horror was all about gothic tales. Think Mary Shelley's Frankenstein and Bram Stoker's Dracula. These stories relied heavily on atmosphere and suspense. As we moved into the 20th century, horror began to explore more psychological themes with authors like Shirley Jackson and H.P. Lovecraft introducing existential dread and cosmic horror. The late 20th century saw a surge in popularity with authors like Stephen King, whose works brought horror into the mainstream. Today, horror is incredibly diverse, blending elements from different genres and addressing contemporary fears. Authors like Victor LaValle and Paul Tremblay are pushing the boundaries of what horror can be, making it more inclusive and reflective of societal issues. In this video, I'm going to share with you not only the key developments and trends in horror literature, but also insights that will help you navigate this genre. And most importantly, I'll tell you what to avoid if you want to get the best experience from horror reading. Trust me, there's a lot. Now, let's talk about some essential horror authors that every fan should read. First up, Stephen King. No list would be complete without him. King's ability to blend everyday settings with supernatural elements makes his work incredibly compelling. Another must-read is Shirley Jackson, with works like The Haunting of Hill House, which delves deep into psychological terror. H.P. Lovecraft, despite his controversial views, has had a massive influence on the genre with his cosmic horror. Modern authors like Victor LaValle and Paul Tremblay are also essential, bringing fresh perspectives and addressing contemporary themes. Clive Barker is another pivotal author known for his unique blend of horror and fantasy. His Books of Blood series is a must-read for any horror enthusiast. Horror can be broadly divided into psychological and supernatural horror. Psychological horror focuses on the mind, exploring fears and anxieties that lurk within. Books like The Silence of the Lambs by Thomas Harris and The Shining by Stephen King are prime examples. Supernatural horror, on the other hand, involves elements beyond the natural world, think ghosts and demons. The Exorcist by William Blatty and The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson are classics in this subgenre. Both types of horror can be incredibly effective, but they evoke fear in different ways. Psychological horror tends to leave a lingering sense of unease, while supernatural horror can provide immediate visceral scares. Horror is a powerful medium for social commentary. Books like The Ballad of Black Tom by Victor LaValle tackles issues of race and discrimination using horror to highlight real-world problems. Get Out, while a film, inspired a wave of horror literature that addresses social issues like racism and inequality. Another example is Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia, which explores themes of colonialism and patriarchy. These stories use horror to reflect societal fears and injustices, making them not only scary, but also thought-provoking. It's fascinating to see how horror can be used to critique and challenge societal norms. Now, let's talk about what to avoid if you want to get the best experience from horror reading. First, stay clear of books that rely too heavily on gore without a solid storyline. It can get repetitive and dull really quickly. Second, be wary of novels that don't develop their characters well. Good horror hinges on the reader's connection to the characters, so flat characters can really detract from the experience. Lastly, avoid books that have predictable plots. Part of what makes horror so engaging is the unexpected twists and turns. If you can see what's coming a mile away, it loses its impact. As always, I encourage you to stop reading a book you are not enjoying and reading something else instead. There's no need to force yourself to finish books you are not enjoying. One of the most exciting developments in modern horror is the rise of diverse voices. Authors like Tananarive Due and N.K. Jemisin are bringing new perspectives to the genre, exploring themes of identity, history, and cultural trauma. This diversification is enriching horror literature, providing readers with a broader range of experiences and stories. It's important to seek out and support these voices to ensure the genre continues to grow and evolve. So, to recap, we've seen how horror has evolved from gothic to psychological and supernatural tales, highlighted essential authors like Stephen King and Shirley Jackson, and discussed the differences between psychological and supernatural horror. We also explored how horror can serve as social commentary, the importance of diverse voices in the genre, and crucially, what to avoid for the best horror reading experience. I hope these insights inspire you to dive deeper into the world of horror. There's so much to explore and enjoy in this genre. If you have any questions or need recommendations, feel free to post in the comments below. If you want a specific recommendation for a horror book, I suggest you go and watch this review of The Ballad of Black Tom by Victor Lavelle. It should be here on the screen somewhere. And now, I hate to do this, but if you enjoyed the video, I would really appreciate if you would help by doing the YouTube thing and clicking all the buttons, subscribe, like, yada yada. It really helps me out and helps the video spread to new viewers. Thanks for watching, and as always, see you in the next chapter.